Hi there, my name is Burla Kawasaki, Chief Product Officer for K2. Over the next 45 minutes, Igor and I will be presenting a sneak peek into an exciting new solution available from K2 to address intelligent case management. We'll walk you through an agenda that talks about some of the next steps in the evolution of process improvement technologies and initiatives. We'll compare and contrast digital process automation with case management, understand how the two complement each other. Then we'll do a deep dive into K2 Intelligent Case Management. We'll give you a chance to go behind the scenes for an end-to-end demo. We'll show you it in action, and then we'll have time at the end for a live Q&A. We'll wrap up and we'll open it up for questions. So let's get started. So as I look at the different waves of process improvement, a lot of the current efforts that we think of today really started back in the sort of late 80s, early 90s with the evolution of Six Sigma and Lean and some of the other initiatives that really focused on improving business process. This created a whole sort of follow-on wave with the emergence of business process management technologies that helped to really automate structured tasks in really orchestrate end-to-end business processes in a way that had not been possible before. Sort of on the heels of BPM came another sort of wave of technologies that were more nimble and very focused on more rapid deployment of digital processes, so-called digital process automation. And then most recently, we've seen the application of artificial intelligence in robotic process automation as a way to extend and complement DPA to really look at overall end-to-end intelligent processes. So what's up next? Well, one of the observations I would have is that no matter where you are and how far you've come in terms of your processes and automating them, there's pressure on every business, no matter what industry you're in, to do more. And so it's never enough. I think also one of the things that we're seeing more than ever before is that our work is changing. It is not just simply well-defined, very highly industrialized processes, but most of the work that organizations do now has a lot of ad hoc and unpredictable change. That's more true now than ever before as we look at companies that are having to rapidly shift to virtual work from home types of environments as we are during this pandemic. And the ability to really support more knowledge-intensive processes, not replacing people, but really extending and enhancing people's ability to do their job is an important step forward that companies are trying to address. And then finally, really the realization, I think, that while there's as many technologies and automation improvements that are possible, you can't entirely eliminate people from most processes. Maybe some simple, highly repetitive processes you can, but in many processes, you actually end up frustrating your customer or frustrating the end user by trying to over-implement automation technologies. And in fact, having a human who can participate to provide higher qualities of personal service is important as we think about sort of really driving a delightful customer experience. So with some of these sort of factors that are continuing to raise the bar from a process improvement standpoint, this really sets the stage, I think, for the road to lead us to a next chapter, which is what I'm going to present on today around intelligent case management. So what is case management? Some of you may be familiar with this approach, others may not. So let me start with a very simple definition, which is really an approach that mirrors your business, right? If you think about the way your business completes a project or a transaction or response, right? There may be multiple stages that you go through over some lifespan to resolve a claim, to answer requests, to complete a proposal. And that lifespan and stages from a business standpoint is pretty straightforward. Case management helps to mirror the way that business sort of stage and evolution occurs. And really applies these principles that you see here. First, it's very human-centered. CASE really is about allowing people to do their best work, giving the knowledge worker the tools, information they need to be able to focus on the high value, high impact tasks and to do more with less effort. Secondly, it is very knowledge centric, and by that I mean it's not completely sort of a streamlined, straight through process. There's going to be emails, there's going to be documents, there's ad hoc attachments that you may need to include into a case as part of its processing. That's part of the knowledge worker and the knowledge expertise that is applied into the case. And so that's an important principle of case management. Third, case management approaches are designed to really be ad hoc. You can't always completely predict how the process will occur, and rather than trying to define all the paths, you want to actually free your ability to take multiple paths, but really to support the users and the experts that need to be involved through those different stages. And then finally, the final principle here is really about embracing agility. CASE will get you up and running very quickly because you're not trying to automate every specific task that gets completed. It can respond to changes in the environment, which again is something we're all experiencing now, that there's just changes that you could not have predicted. In traditional software, traditional structured prescriptive processes need to be changed faster than people can reconfigure software. And so case management really is enabled to provide that kind of agility. So how does case management compare or contrast with traditional digital process automation approaches? Let's just do a quick side-by-side comparison. So in a DPA world, you define your processes up front. Those are typically modeled using visual tools, and when they change, you can change them easily, right, because of the visual process design. But because the process is structured and highly repetitive, you can generate lots of efficiency and effectiveness through automation. They're highly repeatable, so you can scale them very efficiently across the globe. You understand and can draw insight into where there are bottlenecks in the process because it's again defined in a very discrete number of steps. And then finally, most sort of DPA approaches also are accessing very structured data. It may be pulling information from a line of business system or from key databases, and so the process is driven by the data in most cases. Now, if I contrast that, case management is more about the outcomes. You don't really know how you get from A to Z, but you define the outcome, and there's a set of tools or processes for the expertise in your organization to achieve it. So it's really about empowering the people. They're the ones who apply their expertise. They can navigate more fluidly through an ad hoc, maybe a very semi-structured process, because the human is able to make judgments about tasks and activities. It also needs to anticipate the fact that you have a variety of resources, and you may dynamically reassign them across your teams or your organization based on their capability, based on their capacity. You want to be able to embrace and dynamically reassign to the people. And then finally, the last principle here that's different is it's not always structured data. It may be highly unstructured. It could be emails, texts, phone calls, documents. And so the ability for a case to reference those unstructured items of information, not to lose visibility, but still to really track it and manage it, even though it's outside of a typical sort of system of record. And so these two approaches are actually very complementary. And so we see that DPA and case management oftentimes can and should be used together to really address most end-to-end business challenges. Now, case management applies very broadly across industries and across many horizontal domains. You can see here some examples of pretty common case management patterns and use cases. Broadly speaking, they fall into these three categories. First is a type of incident management. This could be responding to a complaint, it could be inspecting some type of break, or in the case of a pandemic, it could be quickly reporting an incident of an outbreak of a viral infection. The second category is around investigative matters. This could be something that is triggered by an audit or by M&A activity or regulatory compliance. And then the third is around service requests. This is typically started by a customer, whether they are applying for a loan, trying to become a new customer of yours, reporting some request for new customer service. These types of scenarios recur really across all industries and are one of the most common ways of addressing many business processes today. I won't spend much time on the slide as I want to jump into the demo and let you see it in action, but there's really four things that are part of the solution. First are a set of powerful extensions to the K2 workflow engine that enable adaptive and ad hoc processing. There's an omnichannel desktop that really acts as the hub for all of the work that an information worker does throughout their day. Third are a set of powerful and integrated analytics that help support the knowledge worker activities and perform automation for many of the routine tasks. And finally, there is support for the full document lifecycle that may be attached to a case. And so these are sort of the high-level components of the intelligent case management solution. I'm now going to turn things over to Igor, who will show you a quick demo of this in action. Igor?
Thanks, Burley, for the introduction. My name is Igor Jurusevich. I'm a K2 product evangelist, and I'm absolutely delighted to take you through this demonstration. Case management is something that's very near and dear to my own heart, and it is something that I've been waiting a long time for us to bring out as a solution within this organization. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy this demonstration. So the demonstration is around case management in the context of claims management, so that it's a scenario we can all get our heads around. Hopefully we've all submitted a claim once in the past. So in the scenario, we're going to enable Laura to be able to use her mobile device and quickly as possible be able to get the right information to Denelix Insurance as possible. We're going to enable her with some powerful toolings like being able to take photographs, annotate images, upload files, and seamlessly move from her mobile device onto her desktop depending on the type of information she'd like to type up. Maybe even using the dictation functions on a phone to be able to get the information as fast as possible and as close to the incident time as she possibly can. Once that is actually submitted, we're then going to have some intelligence within inside of the case management system, some machine learning type of capabilities to work out whether this type of claim is something that needs to be straight line processed or whether it is something that we need a human being involved at different stages of the claims processing. Once that has taken place, we can introduce some collaboration between the case worker themselves and Laura through the system, have that sort of interchange and have that all logged and audited and visible within inside of the case folder. Once completed and everything has been satisfied to be processed, we then have the advanced document generation capabilities that come in and put together a document based upon the relevant information, the relevant clauses in that document, the relevant pictures that need to be included so that Laura can see a true reflection of the evidence she's provided and then digitally sign the document, which then goes back into the case system, that picks it up and then continues processing through to settlement. Right, so let's have a look at the demonstration. We're going to be running two different scenarios. The first scenario we're going to do as a straight through processing, so something quite minor, maybe a cracked windscreen or broken headlight, something that you can go very quickly submit and within a couple of minutes have money back into a bank account and streamline that process. So within under a minute from submission to settlement, we really want to make that as fast as possible and give that customer a truly amazing experience. For the second scenario we'll do, that'll be the second demo we'll do, that one will be a little bit more grueling and that'll be more focused on the back-end case worker. That scenario entails something more sinister taking place and therefore there'll probably be a need for a case worker to action a number of different tasks or provide some additional insight and investigation. So scenario one, if we talk about that one, nice and straight through, cracked windscreen or broken headline, pulling out the mobile device, very quickly taking photos and filling in the information, that being submitted through to the process, and fantastic green lights all the way through and receiving the statement of truth to be signed by Laura. As soon as she signs that off, comes back into the case process and moves through to settlement, payment, and she gets paid. She can see her money in her bank account straight away. Very happy customer. What we have for scenario one is Laura comes up to her car and she notices that she's got a busted headlight. So what she does is gets her mobile phone out, opens up the claims application and logs in. She decides that she's going to obviously submit a new claim. And the claim that she's going to be doing here is a road traffic. So she can come in quite quickly, just, malicious damage, and she can actually use it dictating tools on her mobile phone. As I came out of the store and got to my car, I noticed my front headlight had been smashed. No idea who did it, and done. She can go in and use the tooling to work out where it is. It picks up her current location, but perhaps it was just up the road. I'm just going to go and tap on that location over there. She can also use things like dark mode to help her if she's got if it works better with her own vision, and come in here and change that theme dynamically. She goes to the next page where she now needs to capture who the claimant details are, and she's going to fill in her own details inside of there. She's also going to take some information about her vehicle. She's going to skip out the top section, and she's just going to go straight away and just take a photograph. What she's able to then do with the photograph is that she can actually go and start to annotate it. Move the phone sideways, and you can simply just go in there and really just highlight the area where the problem is. Okay, so now as Laura scrolls up, what we can see over there is that it's actually already filled in the vehicle details using some intelligent capture capabilities that we have inside of there as well. Right, so let's go and add that one to our submission. So we've got claimant and we've got the vehicle. Next thing we're going to do is have the ability now to upload a couple of images, and we can do that from our device. So I want to upload my insurance certificate, maybe a couple of invoices, and what I'm simply going to do right now is just switch up my phone and go now to my computer, and I'll see how I can continue from there. So Laura's just taken her phone, put it in her pocket. She goes to her desktop computer. She could obviously continue on her phone and hit submit, but she's got some things that are actually on her computer that she wants to interact with. So she goes into a mail and she can see there's a draft claim waiting for her. She opens it up, a little link to it, and takes her back. So the purpose here is to create a seamless transition from mobile to desktop and back and forth. I could maybe have started it on the desktop and then moved over to the mobile to take all the photos and submitted it from my mobile, or vice versa. So as we go through this, I can step through the wizard. I can see the things that have already been filled out. I don't have to go through each step. I'm just going to go double check the involved parties, and I can see the picture that we drew and the information there, and we go back to where we wanted to attach those files. So let's go and attach a couple of files. We'll just attach one for now. I've got here a PDF from Mike's Garages. There's a couple of things that are on that invoice that are unrelated, and I want to make sure that I emphasize which ones are actually important. So let's upload this PDF to our claim. Right, so PDF's uploaded, and what we'll notice immediately is that there's been some intelligent capture automatically taking place. We can see that it's picked up that's a receipt from Mike's Garage, the date, and the value of that particular claim. So what Laura can do now is go and annotate that image. Yeah, she can go and do things like obviously zooming in onto it, finding a certain text that you can then go and highlight, add a comment on. And even maybe just, making a couple drawings on there as well. Automatically saving, she can close it off, and she can hit next. She can assign fault. She knows who who was at fault here. In this case, she doesn't, and you'll see that reflect in the documentation that comes through. And she can go and obviously fill in some final information, and she hits submit. And that's pretty much it. Claim is now submitted into the business process. The process is going to start to take care of churning that information, And what we'll see is that that'll be a straight through processing claim. All the green lights are going to tick off. No one else is going to need to get involved in that claim. And in a couple of seconds, we should see that Laura will actually receive some feedback that her claim was successfully submitted. And then she should receive the statement of truth, which she just simply needs to sign. And then she will then receive the final update and settlement. And there we go. We can see the signing request has just come straight through. So what we're going to do is just simply click on that. See, it's an email that's come through with a little bit of context. And instead of it just taking us straight to the document, what it does is it takes us to a form where we can provide additional context. A lot of people, when they receive a document for signing, it's quite often out of context. So you'd like to receive this document with some information around it that helps you make an informed decision about what you're actually signing. So in this particular case, some basic information. But we've got this other tab over here where Laura can go in and she can see the details of the accident and some information about it. And over here, we can obviously enrich this with as much context as is needed for somebody to make an informed decision. So Laura is going to go along over here. She's going to hit the little sign button. She can see a beautifully generated document, which we'll go through in a little bit more detail later, but with the relevant information, the value of the claim, some QR codes that'll help her to just simply scan, and it'll take her back to the data if she needs to. So she doesn't have to now go and log in and know what case number. She can do that directly from here. Document, a little link to the picture that she uploaded, and then of course the information that has been passed through. So what we're going to do is simply just put our signature down. Obviously we could do that on a mobile phone, which would be quite nice, and sign away. So click on that. We're all done over there. We can simply go back to our email or simply just wait for our phone. And in a couple message, there we go. We've got a final email that's come through letting us know that our claim's been approved, submission has taken place, and we have money in our bank account. All right, now time for scenario 2. Different shirt, so we can see it's a different scenario and more focused on the back end processing. More serious accident, same process we have to go through, same compliance process, except this time round, perhaps there's an issue right at the start. Caseworker being informed, getting involved, investigating, sending out tasks, doing research, perhaps collaborating a little bit with Laura, dealing with whatever needs to be taking place. Hands control back to the process, but then another traffic light is stopped because of certain business rules. And again, the caseworker needing to sort out or decide or make some actions. So control handed back over to the caseworker who needs to work inside of the case environment, doing the ad hoc and all the great stuff that comes with that. If they're satisfied, they can pass control, accept that, pass control back to the process. And then there's this time around, the rest of the process is all green lighted and we see the same result. Statement of truth, except this time the documentation is probably slightly different based upon certain levels of risk that have been detected, signing off, payment, settlement, money in bank account, and payment through. So let's go and run this demo now. So for this part of the demo, I'm going to hurry up and complete most of the claim form for you, so you don't have to watch that again, and we'll take it from there. So what I'm doing very quickly is adding a number of people. So we're adding the claimant and marking off a bit of damages. We're also adding the defendant and a couple of vehicles as well, both the claimant's vehicle as well as the defendant's vehicle. There we go. We're also now adding a number of different files. So a couple of files, you'll see the intelligent OCR taking place on all of those, and that also adds up to the total of the case. We're now assigning who blame is, and we'll see that come through in the document. So she's marking Peter Bad Boy as the liable person, and a little note as to why that is so. So all completed, case is submitted, and now let's go in and have a look at what's going on in the background. So what we're doing now is logging into the case system and into a little area where I can view live claims coming in. So I've submitted that first one, and on the side now what I'm doing is simulating or submitting off a whole bunch more claims just so we can watch a little bit of a peak coming in. And obviously this information is all tracked We can use this in later reporting, trend analysis, and we can see where exactly the sort of peak periods and peak times are, or maybe even use this information in the effective processing of claims. If we go back to Laura, you can see here that she's got a draft claim that she was busy working on, and she's got the little notification that her claim has been submitted, but nothing else, nothing to sign yet. So let's go back into the case system now as a case worker and see how they can interact with this. Right, so we can see from the business process, I won't go into too much detail here, but the process has gone through. We've done some parallel processing. It's run along. It's passed the first traffic lights, a fraud check. Everything was okay there. Those were green. We went straight through, but bang, in the liability stage, there's obviously an issue, and then that has been passed over. So the process is now passed over control to a human being within inside of the case environment for them to go and deal with that. What we can see here is the case owner has received a notification via email, and they simply click on the link and takes them directly into the appropriate case folder with the information that they need to deal with. So they're just going to log in. So sitting inside of the case folder, they can see there they've got a task. It's a high value claim. That's why it's come back into the stage of the process for human interaction. And within inside of here, you can see everything that's been captured on the form. Wendy sees that she's got a task, work item, high value claim, and that's the reason why it stopped at this particular traffic light. She opens up that task. She can see some details about it. The claim was of an abnormally high value. But what she also sees is a checklist that's been created. So that's also been created against this task. And for her to complete this task, she needs to complete these check items. And these check items have been added based upon information we know about the case. So they're dynamically added. They could be different depending on different circumstances. As a caseworker, she has the ability to add additional check items based upon her knowledge and expertise to do with this. And she can also start to complete these check items in any order that she actually needs to or that she sees fit to do so. All right. So what we can see is there's a high level of risk she needs to validate on, that we need possibly an additional quotation. She's actually going to mark that as not required because she's had a look at the information that's associated with that, and she needs to phone Laura and make sure she's okay. So Wendy's going to go and do a couple of those things. So she's going to mark this that she's in process of doing this task. So what she's going to do now is go to her tasks over here, and this is where she can do things in an ad hoc way. So one of the things that you might do is send out an email, just to let Laura know that she's going to give her a call and make sure everything's okay. So she opens up a little outbound email capability, and what she's able to do from within inside of here is go and associate this with existing items within the case. So I'm simply just going to go and say, well, who do I want this to go to? Well, let me see who can I send it to. So what it's doing is it's bringing up other context of other members. So we could have different teams in this case, different groups. In this case, I can see there's Laura Doe. That's our claimant. That's the person that I want to send that to. So let's go and add that. And then inside of here, I can say, so she just typed out a mail and she's simply just going to go and click on the send. So I can see my task, my outbound email that's actually pending being sent. And I can see now that has actually gone off. So it's also being audited, and again, that reply will come back in again. What Wendy can then do as well is she can go around here and she can say, well, she's going to go and make a telephone call. So she's going to go and specify that this telephone call is going to be with Laura. So she's going to link that to that particular person. She's going to type in, checking if it's okay, and she can actually then go on and actually make that telephone call. She can also mark off if she left a message or certain other things. There's also other linking correspondence and actions that she can actually start to do against many of these different actions. So I'm just simply going to go and mark that as completed. The other thing I need to do is also just go and validate some of the case risk. So I'm just going to go in and have a look at our scorecard. So the scorecard has been created automatically based upon the elements and the information we understand about the case, the value, the accuracy of the data, the machine learning stuff that we might have taking place from reading sentiment and keyword analysis from the claim. So what we can see there is it's got a certain scorecard based upon certain criteria. And what we can do inside of here is actually just go and adjust it, based upon, reading a document and looking at the evidence. I might start to change it. So likelihood of favorable witness evidence is high. Let's go and start to, maybe change a couple of these things around. So I'll just change a couple of values just to show you what's going to happen. You can see that it's changed the value of our scorecard, and then I can go back in again, maybe after a few more days, or perhaps I've received some more correspondence, and make some additional adjustments based upon that information. So I'll just make a couple more sitting inside of here. I'll go and save that off again. And what you'll see is that we've got a little bit of a trend line that's taking place over here. You can see it has a scorecard that's adjusted quite a bit. And what we also have is a little chronology of all the details and when certain things took place against this particular scorecard. So from within inside of here, obviously, there's a huge amount of capability. I can go and generate additional documentation. We can go and add additional participants and members to this case, delegate this out, but perhaps add people that are experts and be able to go and search for certain people based upon that type of information. What I'm going to do in this particular case is, let's say, go back to our task again. This time around, I've validated the risk. I've checked if Laura was okay. And while I was on the phone to her, I did make sure if she needed any additional transport. So based upon those things, what I'm going to do now is mark my task as completed. If we go back to the business process that was waiting for the casework to complete, what we'll see in a couple of seconds is that this will then move forward and continue down the process. And it'll be back into the green light process where probably nothing else has got any other issues. And it's going to go straight forward into the step for the statement of truth signing. There we go. We can see we've now hit the statement of truth. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to split my screen a little bit. So in the back over there, what we've got is this is Laura's email box, and we'll see when certain things arrive in her email box. We can already see that outbound email that Wendy sent to Laura. Laura hasn't responded to it, but she can. And what we'll see in a couple seconds is we should see the statement of truth come through for Laura to sign. Now, Wendy doesn't have to kind of just guess what's going on with the signing process. What we've done is, with inside of her case folder, she can actually go in and have a look at the signing status and exactly what's going on inside of there directly from within inside of her case folder. So she doesn't have to leave her environment at all. She just works with inside of there. What we can see in a little status update that's taken place is that from a signing point of view, it's out for signature. The participant was Laura Doe, who should be receiving it, and it has been sent to her email just a few seconds ago. So if we go back to Laura's view of the world, and we give that email box a refresh. So Laura, with her email in the background, can see she's received the sending the actual signing request, and Wendy can see that who the participants are that need to sign, and that who it's actually been sent to. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to split the screen a little bit better, like that, so we can watch both sort of interactions taking place. So now we're acting as Laura on this side of the world, and Laura is going to go in, open up that link just like we saw her do previously, and she's going to go in and have a look at the details. So once again, a form with additional context that she can go and have a look at. She knows what she's signing. Click on the send for signing button, and what we can see is on the right hand side, Wendy. So Wendy on this side of things, or is it that side? I'm not too sure. It's a camera is working on, but we can see Wendy can see that it was sent to her 6 minutes ago, and she can see that she's actually just viewed that contract. So Wendy, again, not in the signing process is not in a black box. She doesn't have to go out of her case management system and log into something else to see the status of that. She can just sit back and she can actually see exactly everything that's taking place. So let's go back onto Laura's side of things. So she can come in, she can see that, the person that's been responsible is confirmed that it's Peter Badboy, the total value of all the case that's taking place. And as we scroll down, so one of the things over here is the QR code again. And this time, just simply by taking my phone, if Wendy wants to go and have a look at more data, if she wants to, maybe she's printed this document out and it's a couple months later and she wants to remember, what was the other details about this? Was that really what I said? She can take her phone and she can just put it in front of that QR code and it'll actually take her straight into the initial wizard with all the data that she filled in. Now, as we go down, we can see we had quite a few people involved. Each of these persons now got a link to the actual information that took place, which we'll see further down. Let's scroll down a little bit more. So from the advanced document generation that's taking place, we got words that are nicely written out. It's working how long ago this was done before this document was sent out. And we've got some clauses now that have been added, some clauses that have been removed based upon certain information about the case. What we can also see over here is that it's saying, there were 4 involved parties. The humans that were involved were Laura Doe and Peter Badboy. And obviously, if we had more, it can start to, add those in there. So, John, Peter, Paul, and Philip. It'll construct that for us. Where the vehicles, we've actually listed them going downways, so we can see that being built up beautifully like that. All right. So further to that, we've attached some appendixes. So we've got a sign over here. So let's sign that while we're here. So I'm just going to go and do my beautiful signature again. And as we scroll down, we can see those annexes of the images that were captured a little bit earlier, with the damage of the vehicles that took place. All right. So what we're going to do now is click to sign that, and we'll see a little bit of a update taking place on Wendy's side. There we go. So Wendy can see, when it was sent to her, when she first viewed it, and when she signed it, which was just a couple seconds ago. Right. So let's close that off. So that is completing the stages all for Laura. So Laura's now received her last email letting her know that everything's been done, process settled, and ka-ching, she's got some money back into her bank account. If we have a look at our case, what we'll see is there's a few changes. So what we can see now is the status of this case is now closed. We can go back to our chronology of this particular case and have a look at everything that took place that got us to this closed. We can also, from our home over here, and we could have done this throughout, is start to look at things like our radar, things that are overdue and that we have to do for this particular case, the level of risk that we've got. Inside of our plan, we can see all the steps that took place and the amount of time that each of those took to complete. So let's take now a step a little bit further back. From here, I can look at different reports now, depending on different personas, whether I'm looking at information that's very specific to myself or to my team or what others are doing based upon those sort of permissions, viewing real task information and trends and how things are tracking, as well as being able to go in and have a look at some custom reports. So here's a couple of custom reports showing information about how I'm trending against and where I'm spending my time on, as well as reports that show me different things around perhaps some financial status and where things currently are. So that summarizes up the demo. I hope you enjoyed it. And Burley, back over to you.
Thanks, Igor. So in summary, you just saw K2 Intelligent Case Management in action. You saw how its adaptive case workflow can really empower the information worker to rapidly respond to change. Using the omnichannel desktop, which unified all of the customer contact points across web, mobile, email, document handling, how it used the power of analytics to intelligently understand and gain insight to some of the patterns of work, and then finally how document handling could be integrated seamlessly into the overall case flow. We're now going to just sort of wrap up, and I wanted to hit on sort of 4 summary takeaways about case management. First, really embrace the fact that it's your employees and knowledge workers that are at the core of your business. And as you think about process improvement, you think about the opportunities to move beyond sort of the current wave of DPA or RPA approaches, really about pulling your people, your knowledge workers, into the process and using their expertise in the best possible way. Secondly, it's about being agile, being able to respond to change. Again, I think we are all experiencing this in a whole new level, that the business is changing more rapidly than most companies can change their process. And case management approaches really enable you to change in a speed that matches the rate of your business or of the market around you. Third is to really help deliver a connected experience across your work, across your teams, that regardless of whether your teams are in the office, working remotely, working around the globe, that it connects the structured, the unstructured processes and activities in a way that gives you complete visibility and control and governance. And then finally, that this all provides a superior customer experience because of the fact that all the contact channels you have across both structured, emails, documents, business processes, all those contact points are integrated in, and that really you can enable this to provide a superior experience for your sales or your service or other frontline employees. So I want to thank you for your time today, and now we're going
Thank you, Burley. Thank you, Igor. That was a great presentation and a really exciting demo. Very impressive, Igor. We don't have a lot of time for Q&A, and we did get some really good questions come through, so I'm going to jump straight in because we've got about 3 minutes. So for Igor, what are the top business drivers for a case management solution?
Thanks for the question. So if I think back historically, in the early days of this, it was very much around efficiency and cost reduction. But as the world's changed, we're seeing a lot of the research is pointing more around improving the user experience and improving the responsiveness to change for an organization to be able to adjust. Because of the way case management works, it really empowers an organization not to be sort of stuck in stone. It really gives them that dynamic nature to be able to accomplish the unforeseen things that can come up.
Excellent. Thank you, Igor. And then one of the things that actually came up a couple times is for Burley, how does this solution compare to what K2 already provides today?
Well, if you look back, Carlos, at what's been in K2 for a while, we've had pretty rich support for case management patterns. We have a lot of customers implementing that today. But what we're highlighting in today's session is really a peek into some of the significant new investments we're making that implement a richer set of out-of-the-box capabilities and also add some of the capabilities around interfaces and add-ons that really enable a faster deployment. We've pre-integrated this to accelerate implementation time.
Awesome. So we actually have time for probably one more question. This came up a couple times. For example, are there specific use cases and support for government applications? But I think just in general, are there specific industries the solution is targeted at? Burley?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I think historically, you've seen case management used, in industries where there was a lot of knowledge activity. So things like government, legal, insurance, financial advice, wealth management. Those were the industries where you saw a lot of the early deployments. However, I think one of the trends we're seeing is that overall we're shifting more to a digital age, and so employees aren't doing low-value tasks anymore. They're really focusing more on higher-value information work type activities. So I think what we're seeing is that case management now is highly relevant across really all industries today.
Fantastic. If we can do this in like 30 seconds, another question that came up is what does a typical implementation look like for a solution like this?
Well, I would say, case management has historically been something that you would think about as being a very large-scale implementation, and as a result, large enterprises were the ones who typically, would bite off that type of project, given the high cost and complexity. But I think what we're seeing now, and certainly it's true of the solution that we showed today, is that we're democratizing it to be much simpler and having a smaller implementation effort. So it can be deployed in months, not years.
Oh, that's great to hear. Well, excellent. Well, thank you, Burley. Thank you, Igor. Great presentation. I'm excited to say we have a great customer presentation lined up next in about 1 minute from Reliance Jio, who will talk about how they're delivering operational excellence for India's top telco. So you should be automatically redirected, but just in case, there will be a button that will appear as soon as this session ends. So I want to especially thank the audience for joining us today. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.